Hi guys. Alright, so for this class's genetic disorder, I chose X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy. The history and major characteristics, I wrote X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy is a genetic disorder that affects primarily the nervous system and the adrenal glands. It is often referred to as a lipid storage disorder, and this is due to a rapid loss of fatty tissue called myelin that aids in the protection of the nerves in the brain and the spinal cord. We know this process is called demyelination. This genetic disorder varies in 3 different forms, affecting people differently of all different ages. The first way is within children who have the cerebral form of the disorder. The next variation is called adrenomyelopathy, which typically affects the range of early adulthood to middle age. And the last type of the disorder is people whose only symptoms appear with relation to adrenal insufficiency, which is commonly known as Addison's disease. This variation is not specific to age and usually appears as the mildest form of the genetic disorder. I actually have someone in my family who has Addison's disease, so that's what sparked my interest in choosing this topic. The prevalence, according to the National Institute of Health, is about 1 in 20,000 to 50,000 individuals worldwide. The cerebral form of the disorder is about 35% of the affected individuals, and that usually occurs between the ages of 4 and 8 years old. The adrenomyelopathy version of the disorder presents in about 45% of all the cases, and Addison's disease only occupies about 10% of the recorded statistics. So I just included some images here. The anatomy of the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland is located on top of the kidneys. What's affected in this disorder is the adrenal cortex surrounding the adrenal medulla. Addison's disease is a disorder where the adrenal glands do not make enough of certain hormones. As I stated, your adrenal glands are just above the kidneys. The outside layer of these glands make hormones that help your body respond to stress, regulate your blood pressure, and the balance of water and salt in the body, which is pretty important. The physical effects I broke into 3 different bullet points of the 3 different variants of the disease. The cerebral form of this disorder is extremely debilitating and can unfortunately lead to the death within just a few short years of diagnosis. Typically presents as a learning disability and behavioral problems and leads to more severe symptoms such as loss of coordination, vision problems, along with difficulty reading and writing. Adrenomyelopathy presents differently in ways such as skeletal symptoms of weakness and stiffness accompanied by some digestive issues. Sometimes they present with the usual neurological symptoms, but that's in the more severe cases. Addison's disease presents with much less severe symptoms, appearing as typical adrenal insufficiency symptoms. And the molecular cause of this disorder and its effects, as the name implies, the disorder is directly linked to mutation on the X chromosome. The ABCD1 gene, which is the ATP binding cassette subfamily D member 1 gene, located on the X chromosome. Males possess only 1 X chromosome and 1 Y chromosome, whereas females have 2 X chromosomes, and that is why the disorder is more prevalent in males, as we learned throughout the weeks here. The ABCD1 gene provides instructions for producing adrenoleukodystrophy protein, ALDP, which codes for a protein of 745 amino acids. With the limited to non-functioning ALDP, which the ABCD1 gene codes for, certain fats are not broken down, therefore they build up in the body, and the accumulation of these fats could be toxic to the adrenal glands and to the myelin that surrounds many nerves in the body. So the mode of inheritance. Women get 1 X chromosome from each parent, so they are more likely to be carriers since the functional X chromosome takes over while the mutated one basically shuts off. That being said, females won't be nearly as affected by these types of diseases as males would be, and this is because males actually get their X chromosome from their mother and their Y chromosome from their dad. Therefore, carrier mothers are the ones who pass these types of genetic diseases on to their sons, and usually without knowing. It's still not known at the time what differentiates which variation of the disorder the person will get. It also appears as the condition is not specific in occurrence or variation due to population or ethnic background. The male versus female inheritance. Although women can be carriers of this mutation, it's rare they show symptoms since they have another properly working ABCD1 gene. Since this is an X-linked recessive disorder, if they carry it themselves, males will pass their gene to their daughter, who will cause them to be carriers. Since males only pass their X chromosome down to their sons, they can't pass the X-linked genetic mutation to them. And then this is just some statistics. Female carriers of an X-linked disorder have a 25% chance with each pregnancy to have a carrier daughter like themselves, a 25% chance to have a non-carrier daughter, a 25% chance to have a son affected with the disease, and a 25% chance to have an unaffected son. So the pedigree of the disease, I did both an X-linked, for the X-linked recessive disorder, I did an affected father and a carrier mother. So on the left side of the screen, the affected father passes it down. He has 2 unaffected sons because he can't pass it on to his sons, and he has 2 carrier daughters. And then on the right side, the carrier mother has an unaffected son and an affected son, an unaffected daughter and a carrier daughter. So that's just, I thought, a nice visual of how the disease gets passed on and how the mother passes on the gene to her son. So there is genetic testing available. Genetic testing can be done with a blood sample looking for mutations on the ABCD1 gene. DNA testing is typically done to confirm the diagnosis afterward. Newborn screening tests detect this disorder by looking for the amount of a certain type of fatty tissue in the blood. This blood spot is collected from a needle prick on a baby's heel. If a gene change of the ABCD1 gene in your family has been identified, DNA from the fetus can be tested. The sample for this testing is obtained by either CVS or amniocentesis, like we discussed. And then I put some treatment options throughout the different ages, so different aspects between the genetic treatments, neurologic treatments, endocrinologic treatments, and pediatrician and other specialists. Just discussing results, confirming testing, introducing them to different teams, knowing what testing they should be getting done regularly, MRIs, lab work, clinic visits. So I'll leave this up for a second just so everyone could look at it if you wanted to pause it. I know that the MRIs are very important just to track the demyelination in the brain. So the next slide I have is MRI results of stem cell gene therapy. So I researched both sides of this. One side was pro and one side was against this type of stem cell gene therapy. So this article title says cell transplantation does not prevent myelopathy in X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy. That's a respective study. And then on the right, these were some results before the gene therapy at diagnosis, and then after 12 months, 16 months, 30 months, 24 months on A and B were getting treated and C was not, and 24 months after being untreated you could see a very clear difference in the MRI reads. So I thought that was interesting and wanted to include that, no matter what side you believe on the stem cell gene therapy aspect. And these are my references, so it was really nice working with everyone this semester, or 8-week period, and that's all I have to say. So bye guys.